This game may not be as flashy as Ohio State and Oregon will, or as star-studded as Notre Dame and Georgia will, but there's still plenty of intrigue to this game as college football's unanimous number one running back, Heisman finalist Ashton Jeanty, and the Boise State Broncos face off against a battle-tested Penn State team, which features a nasty D-line and secondary combo while boasting college football's best tight end in Tyler Warren. This college football preview will cover everything you need to know about this Verbo Fiesta Bowl all in a timely fashion. But before we get started, we have a ton of content coming out. We already have 2 college football playoff previews out. Go check those out and subscribe, as it is the best and most efficient way to support the channel. Liking the video would help out a ton as it gets this video into the algorithm for more college football fans to watch. Lastly, comment for me right now what your score prediction for this game will be. I'll have the pinned comment down below, and put your score prediction there. With all that being said, let's dive right into the preview of this college football Fiesta Bowl game. Okay, let's look at the matchup here, just some broad stats so that we understand where each team is. We'll start with Penn State on the right-hand side. They have the number 24 total offense, so a top 25 offense in the country, averaging 33.8 points per game, and they average about 440 yards per game, total yards that is, per game. They are led by their quarterback Drew Aller, who has just over 3,000 passing yards. Their 2 rushing leaders, I think it's the best running back duo in the country right now in Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Nick Singleton is about 70 yards shy of 1,000 rushing yards, and Katron Allen has about 900 yards. So that should tell you where they're at. They're 2 absolute great running backs, should be staples in the NFL for a while, as well as Penn State. They should be coming back next year, I think. I don't know that for sure, but I think they should be coming back. On the receiving end, Tyler Warren is, like I said in the beginning, the best tight end in the country. He has over 1,000 receiving yards. He has some rushing yards as well. He adds 200 rushing yards to that as well, and he has 35 passing yards for anyone that is interested in that. So Tyler Warren is the best tight end in college. That's pretty undisputed. And behind him in the receiving room, Harrison Wallace III comes in with 686 receiving yards. He is really good as well. Omari Evans at wide receiver has 360 yards. Liam Clifford and Julian Fleming round out the receiving core with about 400 yards between the two of them. So this receiving core, not the best, but it's something when you put Tyler Warren in there. And that's on offense. On defense, they have the number 6 defense in the country. They allow 15.9 points per game, and they allow 280 yards per game. That is obviously on average. So this is a extremely talented and really, really good defensive-minded team, obviously led by the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year and runner-up National Defensive Player of the Year, Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter, an absolute beast out there. He has 11 sacks this year, leads his team by a lot. He's got 3 passes defended as well with 63 total tackles. He is a force. And right next to him on the other side of the defensive line, Donnie Dennis Sutton is second on the team in sacks with 5.5 sacks, also 3 passes defended. So these edge rushers are going to be lethal, and Boise State, if they want any chance in this game, they're going to have to be able to contain them at least. I mean, you saw in the SMU game, all SMU's tackles could do was hold Abdul Carter. That's all they could do, because otherwise he was just beating them straight off the rush, because they couldn't block him. And not many tackles can block a player like Abdul Carter, much less do it twice with Donnie Dennis Sutton on the other side. So this defense is absolutely lethal. You got Kobe King right in the middle of that defense. He's got 3 sacks. He's second on the team in tackles with 80, and he is really, really good as well. And in the secondary, you got players like Dominic DeLuca at linebacker, safety hybrid, strong safety hybrid. Jalen Reed, the safety. Both of these players have 3 interceptions. AJ Harris and AJ Harris and Aldavion Collins at corner are really, really good as well. hitters. AJ Harris, obviously the transfer from Georgia, and all these guys are, like I said, they're really, really good at playing defense. Okay, so let's look over on the left-hand side now at Boise State. They have the number 35 total defense, so it's the top 35 defense. It's not a world beater defense, but it features a strong defensive line featuring Jaden Virgin Morgan, who has double-digit sacks with 10. He has 40 tackles, and he is really, really good at defensive line. Ahmed Hassinin, I hope I'm saying that right, has 8.5 sacks as well. Say Oladipo has 6.5 at coming from the safety position, and Braxton Feely, the defensive tackle, has 5.5. As well as a team, they have 51 sacks, so you can tell that they get to the quarterback, and frankly, they're a really good defensive line, and they blitz really well as well. The back end is suspect, though. They've allowed a healthy amount of passing yards, and this defense, like I said, not a world beater, but it's a very solid defense featuring a very solid defensive line. Now we switch over to the offense side. They have the number three. They have a top three offense, and that's pretty much just because of one player, Ashton Jeanty. Y'all have heard about him before, but he has over 2,500 all-purpose yards. He has 2,497 yards just on the ground. In the receiving game, he adds another 116. So correction there. He's over 1,600 all-purpose yards. He has 29 touchdowns on the ground. He includes one through the air as well. He is their number one player. They scheme everything around him. They have the offense revolve around him. So if Penn State can just just have Ashton Jeanty not run for 250 yards in this game, I say that Penn State would win comfortably, because that's how Boise State has won. Ashton Jeanty, you go through his game logs, it's 270 yards, 260 yards, 280 yards every single game, all-purpose yards. But most of that is rushing. And if Penn State can do that, then they stop this number three offense. They average 39.1 points per game, and they average 470 yards, total yards per game. But Ashton Jeanty is not the only player on this offense. It takes 11 people to run an offense. Maddox Madsen, their quarterback, is a strong game manager. He does what they need him to do, much like Sam Leavitt at Arizona State. Doesn't have the eye-popping stats. He has 2,714 yards through the air, 22 touchdowns, and he has only 3 interceptions thrown. His QBR is top 25 with a 73.7, and he is just what they need him to be. On the receiving end, they have guys like Cameron Camper, who goes for he was their leading receiver. He has 837 yards. Their tight end Matt Lauder is second on the team in receiving yards with 523. So they do throw it through the air. They just have everything work through Ashton Jeanty. Okay, let's look at what this game will look like, storylines, stuff like that. I have 3 here. Whoever wins the line of scrimmage will win this game. It's very simple for Penn State. If you stop Ashton Jeanty, you probably win this game by double-digit points. By stop him, I mean hold him for under 100 rushing yards, 110 rushing yards in that area. And if you're Boise State, it's very simple as well. You stop their rushing attack, you make Drew Aller make all the plays, and he will make mistakes, and you can capitalize off those mistakes. The Penn State offensive line is honestly kind of mid. They're not great, but they're not horrible. So, and like we said, Boise State has a strong defensive line presence and a strong blitz presence. So if they can make the Penn State offense one-dimensional, which is hard to do when you have Andy Kotelnicki as your offensive coordinator, but still, the point stands. If you make Drew Aller try and make all the plays, then he will make mistakes, and that is where Boise State can answer, and by proxy, they would be winning the line of scrimmage game. A downhill rushing attack will be the staple of this game. Like I said, both of these teams rely on the run heavily. They go to the run first before they go to the passing game. That is very contrary to what college football and just football in general is today. So this game will feature a lot of downhill rushing attack from both sides. And neither team is really built to come from behind. When you have a team that is built on downhill rushing, they're not really built to come from a double digit score lead. So whoever comes out in this game fast and scores points quick, in my opinion, will win the game. If Penn State comes out and is winning 17-3 at half, or even after the first quarter, I think that they'll win the game because Boise State ain't built to come from behind. Likewise, if Boise State comes out to a 13-0 lead after the first quarter, I would say that they'd probably win the game because Penn State isn't really built to come back from behind, even though they have done it a bit this year. But if Boise State gets enough of an advantage, which I would say probably within the 13 to 20 point range after one quarter, then I think that things would go very well for them. All right, now are my positional power ratings. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. I really like to do these. These are in every single preview video that I do, and they're fun to do as well. Do your own at home. Anyway, coaching. I think Penn State has the obvious coaching advantage, which is why it is shaded navy blue, obviously for Penn State. James Franklin and this staff is really, really good. They're really, really experienced. Even though James Franklin, quote unquote, hasn't won the big game, he's done a phenomenal job with what he has at Penn State. Andy Kotelnicki is a top 3 offensive coordinator in the country, and just a really, really good all-around coaching staff. At quarterback, I lean toward Drew Aller more than Maddox Madsen. If you're going to tell me right now who's going to win a game for me, I would rather go with Drew Aller because Drew Aller has played against Oregon. He has played against Ohio State. Even though he's lost, he has gotten a lot from those games, and he has learned from those games. And I think that will really help him out here in this playoff. You know, your regular season record doesn't matter once you're in. You're 0-0 once you're in. So I think that will really help out Drew Aller, and I just like him more as a talent more than Maddox Madsen. Don't get me wrong, Maddox Madsen's a really good quarterback, but I just see him as a really, really good game manager, and that's it. I don't see him as the playmaker or having the playmaker abilities that Drew Aller has. At running back, you obviously have to lean Ashton Jeanty, but it's pretty close. I mean, you have two guys on the other side that combined for 1,800 plus yards on the ground alone in Katrin Allen and Nick Singleton. But you have the Heisman finals. Probably should have won the Heisman, in my opinion. Ashton Jeanty on the other side, who has 2,500 rushing yards as well. So any other team, Penn State has the obvious lean at running back, but they play against Boise State. All right, at wide receiver, tight end, you lean Penn State here. With the wide receiver room, it's honestly pretty even. Obviously, Boise State's got a couple pretty good receivers, and Penn State's receivers, except Harrison, the exception being Harrison Wallace, have really not stepped up when they need him to. Liam Clifford's got 200 yards. Julian Fleming, the 5-star transfer, 5-star out of high school, 4-star transfer from Ohio State, really hasn't done that much at all except drop the ball multiple times. But at tight end, clear and obvious lean here, puts this wide receiver tight end bracket here over toward the Penn State side. And offensive line, both offensive lines are pretty mid. They're not great and they're not horrible at the same time. So that's why it's white, is because I couldn't come down hard on either side. If I were to give a lean, like a 51% lean, I would lean Boise State just because of what they've done to help Ashton Jeanty get to 2,500 yards on the ground. And then as we move forward, it's all Penn State here going with the defense. Defensive line, pretty darn obvious. This is Boise State's best position, and Penn State makes them look silly with players like Abdul Carter and Donnie Dennis Sutton, and their interior defensive linemen are really good as well. At linebacker, Kobe King, all those guys really, really good. In the secondary, like we detailed in the beginning of the video, AJ Harris, all those guys really, really good as well. Special teams, I did a slight lean toward Boise State. I like their kicker a little bit more and their punter a little bit more as well. But clear and obvious lean here toward Penn State in this matchup. Okay, now we get to my prediction for this game. My prediction is that Penn State will roll through this game with a superior talent on defense. James Franklin is going to have this team ready to go. He will not underestimate the Boise State Broncos. He did not underestimate the SMU Mustangs, and he certainly won't underestimate the Broncos here as well. I have Penn State winning 23-13. Their defensive line and linebackers will be able to contain Ashton Jeanty enough. Ashton Jeanty's stat line, I think, will be somewhere around 95 to 100 rushing yards with a touchdown or two here. But this is where I think it's going to land. I think it's going to be about 14 points, about a 2-touchdown win for Penn State, as they will go to play either Georgia or Notre Dame. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing, we really need to get some subscribers in here. I love the base of people we're building up here on the channel. Be a part of the first 500 subscribers here on the channel. We're doing really well as a channel right now, and I would love for you guys to stick around and watch some more videos. I've already done 2 bowl game previews, a preview for the Rose Bowl and a preview for the Peach Bowl, and a preview for the Sugar Bowl will be out soon. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.